Record on this computer. Okay.
Thanks, Delia.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's so lovely to see both of you.
You
Yeah.
too. This is cool.
Oh
We're cool. So what made you start Modern Women?
my goodness. Well, you know what it was? It's like it was my fifth day on Medium, and I only remember this because I've like plotted the dates. Um, but yeah, it was my fifth day on Medium, and I was like super gung ho about it. So I was reading everything I could. Publications were like the way to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, where do I want to publish my stuff? Like what publications are suited? And the way you search for publications on Medium is brutal because it doesn't, there's no like filter or anything in order to find them. It's just ranked by like a tag. So I would search women, and then the top 10 publications, half of them weren't even doing anything. They have been like inactive.
Oh.
Followers. They were like active back in the day, and then they stopped. So there wasn't really like anywhere where I was like drawn to publish my own stories of like the topics I wanted to. So yeah, that's why I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna make my own.
Yeah. When in doubt.
Yeah.
I kind of always say that to them, like, well, if you don't see something that you want or you need, just make it yourself.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly what I thought. And I love, Delia, that you like messaged me early on and you were like, well, hey, what about like doing a mixer and all that stuff? I'm super for it because it builds like the community aspect, you know? And I know writers, we shut ourselves away a little bit. We like
This is true.
I love to shut myself away. That's the dream for me.
It is. I guess for me, sometimes I'm like, as outgoing as I am in like a intimate setting like this, or with like a handful of people, sometimes in bigger spaces or bigger audiences, I'm like, I don't know. Like, no, this is kind of scary and shy. But it's fun once you do it. So I was just like, why not? It'll be a good thing and just go.
100%. Well, it's definitely less intimidating when it's virtual. Because I think by now, like with the pandemic, so many people have done these Zoom calls all the time, like used to it, you know?
Yeah, it becomes second nature, you know?
Yeah. How about for you, Aaron? Are you like more used to Zoom calls and stuff?
Oh yeah, if I could live my whole life digitally, I absolutely would. I never go outside unless I'm forced to go outside. Like this is my environment right here. Like I got my cat pillow.
Yeah.
And I got my cat. This is where I live right here.
Yeah.
Like when I get the chance to write, I get to shut myself away in here. So yeah, we're trying to, like my husband has an office because he works from home, he works IT. And we're trying to figure out a way to like fit myself a desk in there. So hopefully at least like when the baby's napping, I can get like an hour and a half of quiet time. Because right now it's either I'm on the bed or I'm in like this tiny little corner of the couch and I have like all my stuff arranged around me. And then the kids pile on and the cats pile on. And it's like, I have so many more ideas. I just don't have the time to write them down yet. So I'm working on it.
You know what I actually started doing? I started just like recording my thoughts because sometimes I can't get to a pen and paper fast enough and I'm scared that I'm going to lose it. So I actually downloaded Otter and I think it gives you like 600, it's 600 free minutes. And I just grab it, I talk into it, save it, and then I'll just share it to my email. And that's kind of been helping me actually.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I thought about doing that like with the it's a voice memos app on the iPhones. I have that. I actually used it last night. The only way I use it is to record my husband snoring because he woke me up 3 times last night. So I pulled out the voice memos and I recorded him. And then I play it for him and I'm like, you need to get help for this because I'm dying. Yeah, that's an actual productive way to use that. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, go for it. I was just like, holy cow, I did it. And then that's how I got like 4 or 5 posts. And I was like, oh, now all I have to do is just go back and just like edit them, add some titles, add this. So I'm having fun with it actually. So give it a whirl. I'd recommend it. Next month is March, isn't that's Women's Month, no?
Is it? Maybe. Yeah. I think so.
I think it's like Women's History Month, or I know something usually happens with women and March. Sorry. I should probably know this as a female.
Yeah, Women's History Month is March.
Is March, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we can do either maybe like a prompt for Women's History Month. I don't know if there's a woman you want to highlight, whether in your personal life or somebody that you admire, like
That's a good idea. I like that. Highlighting a woman. Like I'm a really big fan of history, so I've been sort of wanting to get into that more. So either highlighting a woman in your life, like your mother or an ancestor or someone like that,
right.
or like a woman throughout history who's inspired you or something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
cool. Write that down.
Okay. It's easier for me too, because my partner and little girl are here as well. We're all like crammed in this little hotel room.
Well, gotta love the pandemic life.
I know. Oh,
Where are you?
rolling
You
with
said you're in
it.
London, right? On vacation?
so, I mean, it's not quite a vacation. We're like basically temporarily living in the UK.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're in the south of the UK, like the south coast. But for this particular
Nice.
weekend, we were celebrating my partner's uncle. Had like a
Aw,
big birthday. So yeah, we're here till tomorrow and then we go back.
nice. Well,
So
family time is always good.
does one of you have family there? Is that why you're there? Or are you just there for work?
Yeah, so my partner was born British, like he was born over here. But then he grew up in Africa actually, and then
Wow.
came to Canada. So kind of like all over the world.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
met in Canada, and because he's British, our daughter gets British citizenship automatically. So it's just me that needs a
Oh.
visa. And we've always talked about wanting to move here. And ironically, we said, hey, when our daughter's 3, we'll come and do it. But the pandemic hit, so we were like, oh, maybe that dream was pushed out. And then I don't know, just opportunity opened up last fall. We were like, let's just do it. We thought we'd come for 2 months, and it's now turned into almost 6.
Nice.
We just keep extending our trip, and then
that's
I'll have to leave soon. But yeah, so we're still figuring out like what the permanent move means and looks like. But
Mhm.
yeah, that is the plan. And I mean, speaking of which, since I'm sharing a bit about like where I am in my background, did you both already share with each other, or maybe you can share again for my sake?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm originally from New York. I've been living in Jersey for almost 6 months now. Just dawned on me. So yeah, I'm closer to Philly, and just kind of like finding my way around, the area. But it's fun. I'm having a good time. And yeah, but I'm a Bronx girl at heart.
Nice. That's awesome. And Dolly, I love your hair.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like the color and
Mhm.
style.
The volume.
Oh, thank
My
Yeah.
hair is like, oh man, I hate it. I had to cut it because it's just like straight down here. I look like I'm wearing a nun's habit or something. It's terrible. I never get volume from my hair.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
actually
similar.
trimmed it for the first time yesterday, which is actually pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, this shape, because now that I've moved, I'm like, now I need to find a new hairdresser to go for weekly trims. I'm like, this is getting complicated real quick. So I'm like, let me just find a YouTube video and pray for the best, because YouTube has usually worked out in my favor when it comes to my hair. So I'm like,
Mhm.
yay, I don't look a psycho. So
Aw.
thanks.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And what made you move then to Jersey?
Well, 2 parts. My husband and I, we were just like kind of over the whole New York experience, because we're both we've been born from, New York. So we know what it embodies, and we just wanted to like slow down. And then my husband's family his brother he just had another baby. So, their family is getting bigger. So we want to be part of it more. So it just made sense. And the way New York was going through the pandemic, we went running for the hills. Like it was just getting really, really intense, and it was just too much. So for our mental health, we had to leave.
Yeah.
I totally got it. I feel like everybody, okay, I shouldn't say everybody, but many people are like, okay, I need calmer area, less crowds, less people. more
Yeah.
like suburb. We're the same way. We like escape the city.
Yeah, the minute I got here, I'm like, oh, this is what a bird sounds like. This is fresh air coming out of the trees. Like I see a squirrel. Like what? It was like
What
I was
is
like a fish
that?
out of water. And I'm like, okay, this is what happens in real life. This is what happens when you slow down and you look at a rose. So definitely an experience.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So yeah,
Nice.
I guess a lot of my writing right now is just like filtered through that. And it's just like, oh, I'm literally seeing things with like a fresh pair of eyes, things I didn't notice before. So it's been a lot of fun. So I can't complain.
Yeah, it takes you out of your comfort zone and gives you more ideas and more ways to look at everything. So I think that's great.
Most definitely. Thanks.
Mhm.
What about you, Erin? I know a little bit of your story because you're in California, right?
Yeah, so I'm in Orange County, which is between LA and San Diego, like right in the middle.
Nice.
And I know there's a lot of, like Real Housewives stuff and the OC, all those television shows. And
Yeah, is that like the 90210 zip code? Is that
yeah.
okay?
That is so funny.
I can't stand those shows because it's like, I mean, there are people like that, definitely. Like the Real Housewives are like right down the street from me, but
Oh wow.
man, people are not like that in real life. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So whenever I say I'm from the OC or whatever, people are like, oh my God, you live like near the beach and stuff. I'm like, no, I hate the beach. It's terrible. I hate sunshine. I love winter. I don't belong here, but yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. I'm like, are you ever gonna move or are you just gonna stay
Well,
there?
that's the thing is like my husband and I, we both were born here and we grew up like 5 minutes down the road and we went to the same high school, which is how we met. And now we're living in his childhood home because his mom and dad or his mom and aunt moved out. So we kind of have like this cheaper place to live. And we always wanted, like, I love English history. That's like one of my big things. So I would love to travel to the UK and just Europe and everything. And like Miles is with my husband and he talked about moving to like Iceland or New Zealand or something like that. And I'm like, that would be the dream, honestly, to travel and live other places. But just even without the pandemic, just moving everything and moving 2 kids and 3 cats and like around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I fight with like there's the practical side of me, like, oh, you can never do that. It's too much work. And then like, well, I don't want my kids to grow up in the bubble like I did, we got to get them out in the world. But so right now we're here. We're going to be here for a while, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to travel and move around and see some new places.
Yeah, for sure. I get that totally. I mean, that was like the struggle for us because we had always been like humming and hawing about like moving somewhere. And to be honest, like even when we first got here to the UK, we were still like, yeah, we can't move. This is just a vacation.
Yeah.
And then it was like our 2-month vacation kept turning into like longer and longer. And then the more time we spend here, we're like, okay, we can see a life here. Like you start kind of planting roots when you get past like a first few months. But it's always that like trial and error. And it is definitely tougher when you've got like multiple kids, especially, and beyond that, like with the cats and everything. So I totally appreciate that. But at least hopefully you can travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm still in the UK, then
oh my God, yes. I would actually, that's like, I tell my husband, like he wants to go to Asia, he wants to go to Japan and everything. I'm like, no, I've been waiting my whole life to go to Europe. I'm going to go to London. I'm going to go to Italy, to Rome. I'm like, no, we're not going to Asia. That's second. I get my dream first. I got dibs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, when you come, Erin, it's gonna like blow your mind. Like when I first came to Europe, I fell in love with like the architecture and the history. It's like we walk down, like even when we're here in the UK, because we don't get these things in Canada. Canada's such a young country. It's like, and everything is like decades old in terms of building because everything beyond that like burned down or wasn't like stable enough to last. Whereas in the UK, everything here is like brick homes. So you'll like drive down roads and there's homes and they'll have like the year that it was built and it's like 1800s, 1700s, and it's like it blows your mind that like these buildings have been here for that long.
Yeah, and that's what I love. I mean, I was a history major for a while, so history is like my jam. And like living in Orange County, like especially like the East Coast, you've got some history, you got some older stuff, but over here it's like you have like a mission, like Mission San Juan Capistrano was close by, which was like 100 or so years old, but everything around it is just suburbs built in the 80s, and it's like it's not inspiring, for someone who feels like she was born in the wrong century.
Yeah.
Like I need old stuff around me. I was supposed to be born like a Victorian lady, and I'm not. Yeah, so I need some history around me.
Oh, I love
that's cool. Yeah, I'm like, well, and then it's good to see the different perspective, because I'm like, well, there's tons of history here. Like, it's just not something that you think about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh well, yeah, there's history here. There's history everywhere. Like, come on, this country is how many years old? Like, come on. So
yeah, and then you go to Italy or you go to Rome and you're like, oh, okay, this was like 3,000 years old. So yeah.
Like, this is history. What we think of as history isn't even.
History from the 1950s is not that inspiring.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely cool. I like that. So then, Erin, is ES your pen name, or is that short for something? Or
well, it's my initials, ES, Erin Suzanne Yates, which is my married name.
Okay.
And I don't know why I did that, honestly. I was like, I'm gonna call myself ES Yates, and it'll be super mysterious, and no one will know my name. And then it's asking me to put my first name, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I was thinking like J.K. Rowling or Rowling, whatever.
Got it. Okay.
That's cool. I'm gonna get some initials on there.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of stuck with it, and I don't know why I did it, but I'm ES or Erin, whichever.
Yeah, it works. Either way.
Because I was like, I wonder what that means. Like, I remember a few times in the conversation, Megan kept saying, she's like, is it okay that I call you Erin? And I was like, ooh, it sounded so mysterious. I was like, what's going on behind that? I need to know.
I know. It's really not that mysterious or that clever, but I was super excited when I signed up. Like, I'm gonna be E.S. Yates.
Yeah.
You
have me going. So
a woman. Ooh, who is she? But yeah.
To be honest, it reminded me of like an author from like back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Like how women used to have pen names back in the day.
A W.B. Yeats too. That was kind of my
inspiration. Yeah, but it totally reminded me of that, because like women back in the day, they would have to publish under like pseudonyms and pen names because they couldn't do it themselves. So how far we've come, but still ways to go.
If that ain't the truth, I don't know what is.
Yeah. For sure.
Cool. Well, thanks for letting us into the inner workings of Erin. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a little weird in here, but get used to it.
It's fine. I think all writers have a little creativity, little weird stuff happening in the mind. And it's like, but we may think it's weird, but then once it goes out on paper and people are attracted to it, it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. All this makes sense. In the grand
weirdness makes the world interesting.
Oh, yes. Yes.
100%. I think that's one of the things I love about Medium the most, because I actually ditched social media like when the pandemic was first happening. So it's like there's too much, like too many competing like things and so much information. And so I stopped it. Like I deleted my Facebook, Instagram, all of it. And I went on like this like almost like a hibernation from having like a cleanse. Exactly. But it was really nice to almost be like anonymous. Like nobody knew, like in the fringes, right, of like my circle, nobody knew like what's Megan even doing, like is she even alive? And it was nice though to just have that freedom to like do whatever I wanted without wondering like how is it going to be perceived online. And then when I tapped into Medium, it was more from like the aspect of like, hey, I'm restarting my coaching practice, I want to like complement it by writing. And then I didn't really realize that there's a huge community aspect to it. So that part took me by surprise, and pleasantly surprised, because it's all, I'm sure you both went through this, but to get like your 100 followers, right? You got to like reach out and comment and see like what other people are up to. And so, and that was kind of like a funny thing. You can't see like the fly on the wall. If you want to like grow the writing part of it, which I think is like, I think so many writers, we are more internal. So it's like that
Mhm.
that stretch for us to do, but it was kind of nice in that way to force myself to do that because the community is actually really lovely. I mean, I'm sure there are trolls and like haters, but I haven't gotten like a bad comment. I mean, I haven't had like viral stuff or anything, and not like
Mm.
super controversial, but nobody's like cussed me out online.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
That's the
Oh,
dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes, to be that well known that people you like upset people. I don't know
Yeah.
if my poor little heart can handle that yet. But
Once you get haters, you know you've made it. So
yeah,
there's
exactly.
a positive
Right?
to that. Yeah.
That is true. And it's funny because sometime in the week, I read someone's article and they were commenting that they had gotten their first like heckler. And I was like, really? I'm like, I've been on this thing for a couple of months and I really didn't think like that was a thing that was like happening. I've obviously seen that on other platforms, but I
Yeah.
don't know, when I got on Medium, it just like the atmosphere of Medium, it just felt more inviting and it felt like we were having more genuine conversations and it didn't feel like some kind of show like, other platforms felt like. So I was like, wait, that happens? But then I'm like, well, yeah, it still happens. This is a social media platform, like, duh. But I was just like, wow, that's kind of sad. Like, I like Medium as is. And yeah, so that sucks. But I'm like, I'm sorry. I hope, I'm like, well, as Erin said it, if no one has nothing bad to say, then you haven't made it quite yet. So
yeah, got to stretch the boundary a little bit
more. Take that as
Yeah.
a compliment, I guess.
Oh,
But it's cool. Hey, you just got to make the space work for you and, take from it or add to it as you see fit.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, speaking of Medium, I would love to know like what both of you are envisioning, as in like, do you have any particular goals around it? Are you just doing it for fun and see where it goes? Like what are you thinking in terms of like your journey as a writer?
Well, for me, it still is a little bit of both, but I'm I guess now kind of tailoring down where I want to go with it. I still have an idea for my publication. I'm still just like figuring out the dynamics of that. And I'm just like, girl, are you ready for this? So, but that is a goal of mine that I want to add to Medium. So yeah. And I've been experimenting.
Oh, you'll have to let us know when you get close to that, because we can share like what our experience has been like on the editing side of things.
Yes, most definitely. So, and I'm kind of, because I work part-time for a photo company. So I have been doing like some editing and some writing for them too. So I'm like, I'm seeing how it comes hand in hand and just, working through that whole spiel so that when I do get my, or when I start my publication, it's not so much, it doesn't feel as foreign to me. So that's fun. I'm excited about that. And I'm just going to give myself a date or a target month so that I know it's going to happen, because that's been also working in my favor. Just write it down, give it a date, and just flow.
And what do you have like a concept yet, or something you're like rumbling with for it?
I do. It's kind of, it has more of a spiritual tone to it, which is kind of different than what I've been actually publishing on Medium. But it's what has carried me through the last 2 years, and it just seems appropriate. So that's where I'm going with it. I just don't know all the moving pieces. I just have like parts of it. So I'm still just trying to flush that completely out so that it makes sense.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I have like a spiritual side to me, so we can always chat more around that land.
Cool. Hey, when you made a comment, I was like, things don't happen for a reason. And you were just like so welcoming and so inviting. Like it just felt right. So I'm like, I'm just going to go with the same energy. So yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
How about you,
Erin? Well, I didn't even know about Medium or what it was until I had to quit my job to be a stay-at-home mom last year. And then my husband told me, he's like, hey, you want to be a writer? There's a site that can pay you for writing. And I'm like, yay, money. Okay. So I looked at it and then I signed up and I started, writing random stuff. And since then it's kind of like, I don't know yet what I want to write. I've written about writing. I've written about like inspiration. I've written personal stuff. My ultimate goal in the future is to write like a fantasy novel. Just like get my nerd side out there and get that done. But yeah, for Medium, I mean, I don't want to start my own publication. I don't think I have the time or the energy for that. But I love being an editor because honestly, like this is so nerdy, but fixing people's punctuation and stuff and grammar is like, it's so weird. Like I love doing it. It's so weird. I'm like, that comma is not in the right space. I got to do that. This is just great. So like the editorial part, the grammar part, I'm like, yes, I love it. I want to do more. So that part, like, that's one of the reasons why when Megan was looking for an editor, I'm like, yes, I can do this. I know how to edit stuff, So that part I like, and the writing part, I don't have a lot of time to do that. So my publishing has been like kind of sporadic lately. But hopefully in the next few months, I'll be able to get like a better schedule and find, I don't want to say niche because I don't think I want a niche, but I'm just going to keep writing whatever comes to my mind, and hopefully I'll be able to pick up the pace and see what happens. So
I think that's great. And I feel like, at least in the early days, especially, that like niches are overrated, right? I feel like if anything, they're found, you know what I mean? I think it's too restrictive to start that way. Cause I've thought about that a lot too, of like, okay, what's my niche? What do I want to write? But it's like some things I feel like writing about this week, and then other things I feel like writing about completely different. So yeah, and I feel like your audience will grow with you in that way, and then as you develop as a writer, it just comes together naturally.
But
I'm so happy that you joined me in editing too. It's been amazing as well because we're in such different time zones, so it's kind of like when I go to bed is like your daytime, and I'm like, okay, and then when you get around to it, and then we like switch off. It's awesome.
Well, that's cool. Nice. You have a timetable and you didn't even, anticipate it. So that's cool. No, but it's funny. I actually found one of my old college, I don't know, writing handbooks, and it talks about where to place the commas and the semicolons. And I was like, oh, I remember you. I'm like, let me take a look and refresh my memory, see what I'm forgetting. Because I think I had read
an Oxford comma. It's the best thing.
Because I had read somebody's article and they were just like over everyone misusing like quotations and commas, and I was like, well, geez, let me get back on the nice list and look at a couple of things, because I'm like, maybe I fall into that bucket. I don't know.
That old grammar textbook from English 101.
So it was funny. I was like, I knew there was a reason I held on to you for some reason. Now it makes sense. So
that's awesome.
I'm a goofball, so just excuse me.
No, it's great. I love it.
Cool.
No need to change it or turn it down at all.
Well, thanks. So Megan,
what about you, Megan?
I was going to say, so where do you see things
aside from Modern Women, is there anything else you want to do?
Yeah.
So I mean, the biggest thing that I like when I first came to Medium, my whole idea was to write for women like myself, right? So it's like the things that I'm struggling with or challenging in my life, or lessons that I've learned, like life lessons. Those are all things where I was like, okay, I want to share this with other women. And then the publication piece was like supporting other female writers to grow and like build their careers. And so I kind of got off track a little bit in the sense that, like, I wrote about it recently where the partner program, like, I didn't even know that existed. I was just gonna write for free. Like that was all I was gonna do, was write for free and for credibility in a way, right? Just to like show people like, hey, these are things that I'm passionate about and interested in. And then when I learned about the money making piece, I was like, oh, it felt like a game, like a video game.
It's so tempting.
I'm like, how high can I make my stats go? And then I became like obsessed, and I was checking my stats all the time. It was my partner who actually snapped me out of it. He's like, dude, you need to take a step back. You're like going, this is what I do in my life. I get excited about something and then I like steamroll where I'm just like, oh, I want to spend all my time on it. And I'm sure as you can relate, Erin, it's like as a mom, I don't have like a crazy amount of time to begin with. So it's like I was using all my spare time for Medium. And so anyway, I had to take a step back very recently in the past week. And it was a little jarring because I started to see, so there's tons of earnings articles out there and like I'll click them from time to time because it's just curiosity gets the best of me. But I started to see not like earnings articles, but where bigger writers, like writers with like thousands and thousands of followers would reference their earnings or, they would show like screenshots of this and that. And it just started dawning on me that like majority of those writers, and it all adds up, but it's like, most of their articles are only making like a handful of dollars, and then they'll have like a sprinkling of viral articles, which you can't predict anyway.
Yeah.
So it almost just like woke me up as like, like it's not really, about getting there like as quickly as possible, and it's almost not even possible in that sense. It's more about like how to enjoy the journey and like go back to writing what I really want to write about, as opposed to like what I think sounds good. Because I was falling in that rabbit hole and it was kind of yucky in a way where like it was all authentic. I wasn't trying to be like salesy about it, but it was just like, why am I writing about writing good headlines again? I was like, not why I came here. And it's like, I can do it and I know it interests people, but it's like, it's not something that it doesn't have like longevity for me. Whereas like writing about what women care about and what like our very real stories are in life, like that's the kind of stuff that's my jam. Like I'll talk about all day long. So I was like, even if it doesn't get a lot of early traction, because it's a little bit niche in a way, right? Like I'm already cutting out men in a way, like I'm already cutting out 50%.
Men have enough, they're fine.
Exactly.
Like some of the like female run publications will apologize with like, sorry men, we're not including you. I'm like, I'm not even gonna apologize. I'm like, I think they get it. It's like, we need community for women too, right? So you guys can do your guy stuff and like women need their women stuff. And so so that was like my whole thing was like just return back to like speaking for women and for my own story and go from there. So it is like 100% it's more slow going because I can see that in the stats. Like I'll get like bigger uptake on like the writing articles right away. So I've like as my own personal challenge, like I'm not going to write about writing anymore because I needed to like go cold turkey, otherwise I'd be too tempted. And I'm just going to pour my energy into writing articles for women around like variety of things, relationships and motherhood and all that kind of stuff. And it'll take longer maybe, but then hopefully that snowball will roll at some point and then go from there.
I think what some of those bigger writers either don't say or don't say often is that they have their earnings, but they also have like hundreds of articles on Medium. They've been there for a couple years, not just a couple months. So people are going back and looking at their old stuff. Their old stuff is still making them money. And so it's like a like this, curve, whereas new writers are still down here and they get discouraged because they're not seeing the earnings, but they only have a few articles on Medium. But those big writers they're reading are, been here for a couple years and that can get distracting because you're like, well, why am I not making $1,000 a month when this guy is? My writing's just as good, but it's a long-term thing. And I think people can forget that.
And I feel like for some reason I was expecting like each article to make like a certain amount, right? Like I'm like, okay, it's a good article if it's making more than $10. But it's like the reality is so many of those articles don't even hit that threshold. Like it's
like 10 cents is like
that's what I mean. And then when you like take a step back and you're like, oh my God, I like spent like a couple hours for just like $10 or not even close to $10, like pennies. Then it's like, it's a shocking thing. But it's like you say, Erin, it's like those writers who've been here for so long, they've built up a library that just like has a continuous earning. So I think I'm past that honeymoon phase now where I'm like, okay, I just got to stick with it, not get burnt out, write what I love and go from there.
Yeah. And I just feel like it just kind of comes down to like what the person's perspective or what their expectation is out of it a little bit. Because I did join you for your January no stat. no stat looking for January, and it actually composed a post that I'm editing and I will get out sometime this week. But in that, I was like, okay, let me not focus on the earnings part and let me just, just do the writing. Do the work and the earnings will come. And that's the part that people kind of like miss. It's like, well, if I'm not doing the work, how do I expect, things to improve? So my earnings, I probably earned like maybe $1.50 more than I did in January. But I was like, okay, look at all the other good things that happened, and had gotten more email subscribers, which is the first that's ever happened to me in like the last however many months I've been on here. So that was cool. And it just opened my eyes to, other areas of Medium that, are just as important and just as effective. Because it's like, okay, I may not have made my thousands of dollars in this 1 month, but I reached more people. More people wanted to, get first dibs on whatever it is that I'm writing. So that in itself speaks volumes. So it's all about perspective.
Yeah. I love that. Very well said. By the way, speaking of Medium and celebrations, we just hit 200 followers for Modern Women. Yay! And it's so much harder to get followers for publications because it's like you can't comment as a publication. There's like not really a way to promote a publication other than like write a post about it and like invite people. You can only do that so often before it's like redundant. So yeah, the fact that like the ball's rolling. I was talking to, so I'm taking like Christina God, she's one of the writers on Medium. She was doing like a boot camp thing. Oh, cool. So I joined her boot camp, and one of the things she talked about was like once you get close to or near like that 1,000 mark as a publication, then the ball really starts to roll. Then it like 1,000 jumps to 2,000, 3,000 like quite quickly. So my hope is by the end of this year, if it like continues at the same pace, and maybe it will like snowball a little bit and come sooner, that we could like top the 1,000 mark. That'd be awesome. Wonderful. That would be cool. Yeah.
Well, are you guys on Twitter? Do you promote your stuff on Twitter?
I don't, because I'm like, I can only handle one platform right now. I reactivated my LinkedIn a week ago. I was like, okay, let me at least like try out LinkedIn. And then I got sick of it really fast. I was like,
I tried LinkedIn. I'm like, I can't separate it from like my old corporate past. It's like, I don't want to go back there.
I know, me too. I was like, I left for a reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, I tried, like, I was reading about like Twitter marketing and getting stuff out there. And so I joined Twitter, and I had never joined Twitter before. And I'm trying to like grow the community. And it's so, I don't know if I'm just too old, like to get my head around it, because like the tweets just come so fast. Like you tweet and it's buried under all this stuff because everyone's tweeting so fast. And I got like 150 followers, but my posts never get liked or viewed or whatever. And so I'm like, I'm trying to read all this stuff about how Twitter can help you grow your following and help you whatever. And I don't know. I don't know if anyone else is having success at that, or if I'm just doing it wrong, or I don't know.
Well, I'm on Medium and LinkedIn. What I kind of do with LinkedIn is I just have my account connected to my Medium. So when I post to Medium, it just automatically goes to my LinkedIn, because I just can't be bothered with like, oh, let me write something new. No, you're just going to get the same thing I posted. So that's how I kind of handle LinkedIn. And then
I didn't know you could do that, by the way, Delia. How do you do that? You just connect it?
Yeah, there's in the settings, I believe, of your Medium.
Maybe that's how I should handle it.
Yeah, there's a connect button, and you can, it's Facebook, Instagram. No, not Instagram. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Yeah, those little buttons at the top where you share.
See, good tip, because I was like, I don't want to spend time on LinkedIn, but maybe I'll still try it for the sake of it. Maybe I won't throw in the towel yet. Just have it auto.
Share it. Yeah, just share it, and there you go. And then what I recently started playing around on Twitter. I am on Twitter, so you can give me your name and we can be Twitter friends. Okay. But what I've kind of been doing is I'll just take like a highlight either from somebody else, and I'll just kind of like share that, and I'll say read the rest of the article on Medium, and that's I've been playing around with that. I mean, my following isn't that enormous. I think maybe 30 people or 40 people are following me. But that's just how I'm doing it. And then sometimes, I'll find out, or at least one person joined me on Medium from Twitter. So that was kind of cool.
That's nice.
So try that.
I feel like it's similar to what you were saying, Erin, about the like top writers on Medium, where it's like it takes that curve, where it's like more flat for a while, and then at some point it takes off.
Yeah.
And that was my idea with Twitter, trying to, and I did try that for LinkedIn. I might keep trying that, but Twitter, it's like, so many more people are on Twitter and pay attention to Twitter than LinkedIn, I think. But getting started, getting the traction first off is the hard part. And that's what's kind of frustrating. Like I get like a new Twitter follower like every couple days, but then no one like likes or comments, or so I'm like, are they even seeing it? Like, is it coming up for them? That's one of the things I'm like, I don't know how Twitter works.
That's how I feel when I get like 0 reads on my article.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but someone is always reading that. I can guarantee you. Somebody is always reading it or watching it. They're just not always going to be vocal about it, and they're not always going to get the like because of whatever reason, but somebody's always watching.
And I got to remember that too, because I just kind of like get into this position where I'm leaning back. I'm like on my mouse. I'm like, I'm reading, and I'm not like, I don't comment or I don't like it. And so they get a view or they get a read, but they don't know that, I'm actually reading it or I'm into it. So I have to remember to get a little bit more involved, and at least, if I like it, then hit the heart, or if I, really like it, I'll make a comment or something. But I feel like I forget that that's reciprocal. Like no one's going to comment on your stuff or like your stuff if you're not going to like theirs back. No one's going to read your stuff. Like if you're not reading, people are probably not going to read yours. You have to reciprocate.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That makes a lot of sense. Like maybe that's part of what you could try with Twitter is like do almost like how we had to with 100 followers. It's like go and like comment on a bunch of people's stuff and like get that ball rolling, because then they'll go and check you out type of idea.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of feel like as the more genuine you are about, a like or a comment, you will get it back. It just, so long as it's coming from a real place, you'll always get whatever it is that you're seeking back to you. You just have your intention going into it just has to be legit, because people pick up on that. They feel it when, you're not being genuine or you're just writing something for the sake of writing it. It's like, okay, who's going to believe this? Yeah. Besides the person that wrote it. So, but it takes time. If it's not legit, or if you feel like, you didn't really connect with something, then don't comment. Just let it be real.
100%.
Awesome. This was fun. Cool. Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm
really lovely chatting with you.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yay.
All right, ladies. Well, it was so lovely getting to know you more. I'm excited to do this on a monthly basis. We'll create more momentum. More women will join us.
Yes, so excited.
We'll just make it sound like they really missed out on our amazing Sunday evening.
Yeah. I mean, we're so awesome. Like you guys missed out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, ladies.
And you too.
We'll be talking.
Great. Thank you both. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.